LATD Nation, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know us by now, then we ain't gonna tell you. Psych, this your boy Jay Fixit.
This is RG from the 843.
And today we're gonna be looking at the details of Last of Us Season 2, episodes 1 through 4. So far this season...
Hey, before we even get to that, I mean, we just want to address the elephant in the room. Yeah, I know the season started, a month ago?
Yeah, 4 weeks ago. Literally.
Ain't gonna lie, we've been lazy as hell. We were supposed to review it episode for episode, but hey, shit happens. But not to say we haven't been working, because we got some stuff in the tuck for y'all. But I mean, for right now, let's get to the Last of Us. I guess you could say a mid-season recap at this point.
Mid-season recap, yeah.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah, but so far... Yeah,
I want to highlight the positives so far.
Okay, well, in that case, one, the performances are really good.
I want to just go ahead and give sort of a brief, I guess, synopsis of each episode and kind of where the season has been left off so far as of episode 4.
Bet.
I mean, so, of course, anybody who's a fan of Last of Us or anybody who watched the show knows that season 1 ended the way that the original game ended, with Joel saving Ellie from the Fireflies and telling her a lie that the Fireflies stopped looking for a cure. And now we're picking up 5 years later, just like in part 2, the actual video game, with Ellie and Joel, their relationship being strained. They're living in Jackson, but they're kind of doing their own thing. And so, with that being said, this season, the way it picks up, is pretty similar to what they did in the actual game.
Right.
As I mentioned, their relationship is kind of fractured. They don't really speak to each other. They're not really in each other's presence like that. But I think with this interpretation, it almost seems like they're playing it more for kind of like what Corey said in Double Toasted. Ellie is kind of more like a teenager sort of branching out and kind of wanting to do their own thing.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to, well, the thing is, we don't really know, but I'm sure it's going to be the same as it was in the game. The reason that their relationship is strained because she knows, she eventually comes to find out, spoilers, of course, she comes to find out that Joel lied to her. Mm-hmm. So it's too early to tell whether or not that is known on Ellie's part in this counterpart. But for right now, she's just kind of like just a bratty teenager, low key.
Yeah, it's kind of moody, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, though.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Like it's heavily implied that why they don't like each other, that is for that reason.
Because
I feel like she already knows, because I feel like they wouldn't go throughout the whole flashback with Joel lying to her. You know what I'm saying?
I think that more than likely it's gonna be the same as it was in the game, because I mean, I just can't see them throwing that plot point away, because then that would make the whole situation around their relationship at the beginning of the game completely toothless and just pointless. So I highly doubt that they would have that. They would retain that with season 1 with him lying to her, and then they throw it away season 2. I just don't think that would make a whole lot of sense.
Right. A big difference. Well, I guess a big difference that between the game and this one is the fact that Joel tells Tommy what he did in the game, but in this one he tells Gail, who's a therapist played by I forgot her name, but she's
Catherine O'Hara.
Catherine O'Hara, yeah, thank you. The mom from Home Alone, terrible mother from Home Alone. So
neglectful mother, low key.
Like bruh, that's a video for another day. But I like that difference though. Like they brought in her, and has a backstory herself about her trauma and what she's dealing with, like everybody else does. Because she in this series season, she's a really, really heavy drinker,
exactly,
and smoker. And
it's a little bit different because there was a character that was mentioned but not seen in Last of Us Part 2. His name was Eugene, and in this game they kind of fleshed it out a little bit more to make Eugene her husband,
right?
And Joel having killed Eugene because he was infected, it kind of adds a sort of a layer and a dynamic that's a little bit different than what we would have seen if they had just had Joel and Tommy talk about what went down in the hospital. So that's an interesting plot point. It's going to be kind of interesting to see where they take it, because it's been about 2 episodes now. Well, really, this is the first episode that we haven't seen her, this being episode 4. But she's been in all 3 episodes thus far. I don't really know what their long-term goal for her is, but it's going to be I mean, that's one thing that I think that they're doing a good job is kind of like adding new stuff that's sort of like giving more fans to be on their toes about, as opposed to just a carbon copy, beat for beat remake of the plot of the game. But that does kind of bring me to some criticisms, but overall performances are still strong.
Right.
I would say production value is still great. I mean, a clear and obvious example of that being, that was episode 2, basically the assault on Jackson.
Yep, that was episode 2.
With all of the infected pretty much storming it.
Right, yeah.
Kind of attacking it, kind of making it vulnerable, which that coincides with Abby's arrival.
Right.
And her meeting Joel. And we definitely got to get to that because that's obviously probably the biggest elephant in the room. Caitlin Dever as Abby, how they were going to translate that and bring that to the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and let you tackle that to start out with.
So with Abby, one thing I like from the game that they did here is the fact that they tease us at the end of episode 1 that there's like a hive mind between all the infected, because there's like a little a pipe that's already open in Jackson that contains like the cordyceps fungus in there, and it's like starting to grow and starting to leach around other plants in Jackson. So when Abby shows up in the game, she's just kind of by herself trying to find where Joel is, because if spoilers ahead, he killed her dad and fireflies in the end of the first game, yada yada. Fireflies ain't flying too high now,
which is retained in the show, thankfully.
Right. So, but in this one, she actually stumbles upon a whole group of seemingly dead infected. So what the infected tried to do in this one is that they used the dead bodies of the infected as like a sort of like cover, kind of like what the characters in Doom did, like hide under the sand and then pop out and show niggas. You know what I'm saying?
You beat me by 1 second.
And so this is kind of the same case here. So when she steps on them, she triggers like a whole chain reaction, and now all the infected is chasing after her, going down to Jackson and everything. The same set of events that you see, the same sequences that you see with the whole like the fence being caved in by the infected is in here from the game. Is in here too,
which was a cool Easter egg. So essentially, everything that happens in the game does happen, just in a different sense. Because in the game, when the infected first got woken up, they really only attacking Abby and her group.
Right.
They've never made their way down to Jackson, the town.
Right, exactly. But in this one, they go. It's a whole army of infected. But one thing I do like that Jackson was ready for it. Like they were prepared for like a horde of infected to come attack them, because they would have like oil barrels. They would like kind of shoot at them to make sure like all the oil spreads, and it was really thought out. And then they would also throw like, I guess, torches and light them on fire to kill like a whole spread. Like I thought that was really cool. The whole boss battle with the bloater between the bloater and Tommy, that was another cool one too. Like I really enjoyed that sequence.
I think one positive change that they've made is kind of showing more detail in terms of Jackson. Not just in terms of how well fortified it is, but the culture, and the town itself, the people that are there, what their daily life is like. Because really, in the game, all we really saw of Jackson was really just patrols and stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
And we did also see the dance and, of course, the famous scene of Ellie and Dina kissing.
Right,
and
that's
then
all.
Joel intervening. That's all in there. But I like that they kind of fleshed out and expanded a lot more stuff. Maria has a lot more to do in this season as opposed to the game, because in the game she was pretty much just kind of this here and gone.
Yeah. And another big change that I like too. So progressing further on, Joel, same way. As in the game, as in here, he saves what's his name?
Abby.
Thank you. What's her name?
His name?
Her crazy work. They save Abby. He saves Abby from the infected again with the same 45. I'm tripping, with the same revolver and everything. The whole biggest difference from Joel from this scene is the fact that Tommy's not with Joel in the show as he is with the game. Dina's with him this time, and so they get to the lodge, and now this is the part where they kind of started to lose me. Because famously, the reason why everybody hated this game so much
Yeah.
Abby kills Joel. Spoiler. Bah, sue me. So all I know is
I was almost speculating whether they would even do it or not, just because Pedro Pascal, big name actor right now,
Right, yeah.
one of the biggest name actors right now, low key.
he got Fantastic Four coming up. He was in Mandalorian.
He's been doing his thing. So I was kind of worried as to whether or not they would stay true to the game, just out of a feeling that they need to keep him around, just to keep that star power, just to keep that name.
Right.
But then the more and more I thought about it, hey, they got the flashbacks for that. So
yeah, exactly.
He's still around.
Yeah. He's
Trust
still gonna be there, y'all. So quit tripping. So anyway, but this is where they kind of lost me with it. So in the game, like I mentioned, Dina's here, in the show, Dina's here. In the game, Tommy's here. But I couldn't stand all the damn monologuing from Abby.
Felt like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah,
villain.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
Like.
That's exactly how I felt like. And my biggest criticism with Abby,
talk about that nigga, he twirling his mustache and everything.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
will you ever hope to escape this one? And then sidekicks show up and cut the nigga loose or some shit.
Right, yeah,
Get
like,
socked in their nose. That's what it felt like.
Exactly.
I was low key waiting for that.
Exactly. Because in the game, she gets right straight to the point. She grabs a golf club, and as soon as she hears that it's Joel, she goes to town swinging.
No, in the game, the way it happened was literally as soon as they got in the room and they made sure that the infected were, walled off, they couldn't get in. As soon as they figured out who they were, because Tommy introduced himself and then Joel said his name, and as soon as they realized it, Joel's like, "Oh, y'all act like y'all heard of us or something." It's because we have. Grabbed Tommy. Well, actually, no. First, they shot Joel in the leg. Then they grabbed Tommy, and then they knock him out and drag him away. And then she grabs the golf club, and they get straight to business.
And it goes to town.
They say maybe, I'm trying to think. I think Abby at most maybe said one or two sentences before she got the word.
Exactly. You don't get to rush this. But in this one, she says the same thing, but she says, "Do you know what you did to me? Do you remember? Do you remember their names? Do you remember why?"
It's like you got to jog my memory. Like I killed a lot of people. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, oh, you one of the Raiders that you Davis daughters? Oh, you the doctor's daughter? I'm tripping.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, but do you remember what you did? And I've been waiting a long time.
Like, she really showed out for real. Showed out.
Like not in a good way. So that's just really kind of what annoyed me. Even Joel even said, "Shut up and just get this over with."
Exactly, which is reminiscent of what he said in the game, but it was a little bit different because Joel basically said, ironically, so he said, "Why don't you say whatever speech you've been rehearsing in your head and get it over with?"
Yeah,
very ironic because after that, Abby said, "Stupid old man, you don't get to rush it," and she got to work.
Right. This one didn't get to work until after 10 minutes of her monologuing.
Literally.
And then what made me kind of laugh was the fact that in the game, Abby is very kind of like how I try to be, muscular and everything. And this one, Caitlin Dever, God bless her,
she's doing a great job embodying the anger
but
and the emotion.
But I'm not intimidated by this girl whatsoever. I'm not when she started punching him, I'm like, if this was me in that situation,
I would have $105 and she's like 5'3".
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be scared of that. She at least shouldn't even be afraid of that.
Exactly, in the game, because I just that's all you got. She thinks she Omni-Man or something, doing hitting her over and over again, hitting them over and over again.
She's over here punching Joel as he's down.
Yeah,
there's no impact to the punches. It's just kind of okay.
It was kind of like when Piccolo was trying to fight Frieza, in the Namek saga. But anyway,
I ain't gonna lie. Piccolo put ass whooping on Frieza in his second form. You don't remember that?
No. I'm talking about after he got his energy back and Frieza was on his final form. He was just standing there the whole time. A better analogy probably is Hercule trying to fight Cell. That's probably what that's what's more reminiscent of.
Piccolo put a foot in Frieza's ass.
Okay, you're right.
Before he went into his third form, the Xenomorph looking one, Piccolo was giving him that work.
My dog Piccolo, man. I'm glad they finally gave the black man an upgrade. But anyway, so I just she's not intimidated. And then what made us laugh the most was when she's beating down Joel with the golf club. Ellie's in there. No, yeah.
Great performance. Great work by Bella Ramsey, though.
Yeah, no.
Can't sleep on that.
No, most definitely. But what undermined the scene and made me laugh was the fact that the golf club itself, the end of it broke. So it left like the rest of it kind of sharp. And then as you hear Bella Ramsey, Ellie starting to like telling her to stop. Essentially, she rears back, and the next thing you know, ching, and it just goes silent. Like, and then me and Rod literally just look at each other, and we just fall on the floor laughing because it's like it just ruined the suspense of the whole moment. While in the game. Yeah, you're gonna hear that a lot in the game. I mean,
you're gonna have to. It's inevitable. It's based on the game, like, so the comparisons they're just what they are.
Exactly. Don't take shots. So anyway, I just like in the game, it just ends up with a loud thud from Abby beating Joel over the head.
Yelling no, like that was haunting.
Yeah, that was haunting. That was scary. It was heartfelt. It was sad. This shit was funny in the show. This was hilarious in the show. I'm like, I think Pedro Pascal even tried not to laugh. He lifted his head up. I could hear him. I'm like, bro, like,
Pedro, get your ass up, nigga.
Like this girl,
get your ass up, nigga.
Come on, Pedro, bro. You know this.
You want to laugh? Shit. Now we got to redo the scene, nigga.
He even moved away from the camera to try to laugh. So I was like, nah, bro. Because I'm not intimidated by Abby. One thing with this episode, it has a very good high, but the lows are very loud and apparent. But onward to episode 3. I'll let you take this one.
This is easily the worst episode of the season for me so far, without a doubt. It was a lot of Jackson stuff, which, again, to their point, I do like that they've been fleshing Jackson out. You got to see a lot more communal stuff. Really, this episode opens with it being, 3 months later or something like that?
Yeah, 3 months. Yeah.
And basically, Ellie's been in the hospital ever since. She's been getting evaluated, ironically, by her name's Claire, right? Yeah, she's been getting evaluated by her, and she kind of been testing for trauma and PTSD because obviously, she just watched her father, or really the only father figure she ever had, die right in front of her.
Right.
And this is where you really see the differences really show in this adaptation as opposed to the game, because in the game, Ellie, to begin with, she was already very reserved, quiet, wasn't anywhere near as outgoing as she was in the game, or in the beginning of part 2. But with this version, Ellie is still very much similar to how she was in the original. Very jokey, very, I guess, fun-loving, energetic, happy-go-lucky. So the way that they're having her display grief is way different in the sense that in this version, she's more sort of like, you could tell she kind of holding her grief in, and she's kind of just trying to move forward and kind of be her usual self, which is interesting. But I think the problem for me that presents with this is that The Last of Us Part 2 is a story all about revenge. It's about sadness, grief, anger, and again, revenge. She doesn't seem like she's really that concerned with revenge. She seems very passive in wanting revenge for Joel, even to the point to where they had that town hall meeting,
right? Yeah.
And they put it up to a vote as to whether they think that they should go and pursue Abby's group. And she gives a speech, and the speech just feels very much in the vein of, oh well, we should do this for justice or whatever the case may be. And knowing Ellie, you're thinking, man, she's just bullshitting. Of course she is. She's just capping or whatever. She really just wanted revenge. But the way that she presents after this, it almost starts to feel like she doesn't really want revenge that bad. It almost does seem like it's more in a justice sense. You don't really see a whole lot of anger coming from Bella Ramsey, or really even Tommy, as a matter of fact. Everybody just seems like they're kind of like, yeah, I want revenge, but if we don't get it, shit, it is what it is.
Right, yeah.
Which is a stark contrast from the way Tommy and Ellie, because both of them were on a war path.
Right, yeah, exactly.
In part 2.
So, I didn't know how to take all that, because it was just kind of weird. Because, like you said, in the game, she's very much on edge about all of this. Like she's out for blood.
She's on
and
time.
Now going there for justice isn't a bad thing. But the simple fact is, like, why are you so ha ha he
Facts.
about all of this bullshit? Like, you going to go kill this girl who literally killed the only father, like you mentioned, that you've ever known.
Like, it's kind of like how the Grizzlies, they were losing by 50 to who was that?
I have no clue.
This playoffs. OKC. They were down by 50, and John them are on the bench joking and laughing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what that reminded me of. It's like, you don't realize this is your enemy, right?
Right, yeah. Like, these people just came to
They
your
got a
house.
score up on you.
Exactly. Wait, was it a home?
You want your get back?
And was it a home Grizzlies game?
I'm not sure.
Either way, like, where's your pride at? If it's home,
exactly.
Especially if it's home. These jokers literally came up into your house, beat down your loved one, and you out here ha ha he kiki, and like this is like you in Cancun or something.
Exactly.
Funny enough, that's where John and them are going. I hate to say it, but it's just like. But to your point, you go ahead. Go off.
But yeah, no, that's been my biggest issue with this season so far is that it just doesn't have. She doesn't bring the same intensity and the same grit that Ashley Johnson brought. So it almost kind of alters the tone in general.
It does.
I think it really actually kind of, because so much of part 2, the theme the theme of it was revenge and anger and grief and just darkness. And when you got the main character that's supposed to portray that, jovial and joking and laughing, it makes it feel much more lighter in tone than it originally was supposed to be. Right. Now, we don't know how much of this is going to translate as time goes on. We don't know if, like, because, I mean, kind of speeding up a little bit ahead, just for right now, at the end of episode 4, which we just watched.
Right. It's a lot more to say.
They have basically found Nora. So I don't know if her anger and her grief is going to come out when she starts coming face to face with these people. Mm-hmm. But for right now, it's just kind of like they're not really laying the groundwork for that revenge to really feel as satisfying, in the sense that it's like she's mostly just chilling. Like, I guess we could go to episode 4 now. Yeah.
Might as well, because there's a lot more of the same thing. The only difference is, one thing I do like about this episode is the fact that they brought in Isaac way earlier than they did in the game.
They seem to be fleshing him out a lot.
Right, because he starts off as like a Fedra agent or soldier. Soldier. Yeah, okay. He starts off as a Fedra soldier with like a surprise guest. Josh Peck was in this one. And so,
which I would have never ever thought of all people, Josh Peck.
Exactly. Like one of my favorite characters.
Brother.
Exactly. Yeah, they hugging all right. So anyway, pause. But Jeffrey Wright's character Isaac literally starts off as like telling them what like a voter is, saying that it's an insult for like the people who couldn't vote, and after the whole outbreak happened. So. But the thing is with him, he's very much on edge. This dude Isaac is is no joke. He's a master manipulator. This man is straight up insane. He literally takes 2 or 3 grenades, throws it in the back of the truck, closes it so that they couldn't get out. And I'm like, that's crazy work. Fast forward in a little bit in the episode, he's torturing one of the Seraphites, aka the Scars. And that's another thing I'm glad that they did. They brought in the Scars earlier in episode 3, so we get to see who they are. And it's a sad sight to see in episode 3. I'll tell you now. But if you know the episode, then you know.
Yeah.
But he's literally torturing one of the Seraphites for information and everything, and it's a really weird scene. It does its job.
I think the thing is though is that Isaac, we didn't really see a whole lot of in the actual game, but it's implied that this is the type of person that he is anyways. So to actually see it was cool. And we get that like sort of fleshing out of his character, his story, maybe even his motivations to a degree.
Right.
Because in the game, he was almost just kind of like this ever lurking presence in the dark, like the boogeyman. And then when he actually came out, he just kind of just died by like a stray bullet or some shit, and that was it.
Yeah, is the first time we see him, is that when in the game? Is that when he's like torturing somebody, or is that like?
I don't even think it was.
Or he's just looking outside a window.
He was just looking outside a window, and then you don't see him again until he actually dies. So it's like he's barely around.
Yeah, but I'm really glad they introduced him earlier here, because he's one of the most interesting characters in the game show already. Just like you can tell, he's like no nonsense. Like that very cold, calculated, but unhinged individual who could probably take off at the drop of a hat. He ain't as bad as Tuco, but he's pretty bad. Like he's like a mixture of Gus Fring and like Lalo so far.
Yeah, I would say overall,
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul fans,
Yes, sir. Overall, I really do think that bringing in Jeffrey Wright back for this performance made perfect sense. Because I'm not saying that the role is iconic, because we didn't really get a whole lot of them, but at the same time, I don't really see any other person playing it as well as Jeffrey Wright himself. So I'm glad. That's one thing I do like about this show is how much they've translated some of the original actors over into the show.
Right.
I haven't complained about that whatsoever. I think Marlene's actress was actually the same one as the one in the game. So yeah, overall, I like that aspect of episode 4. I like that.
And then the subway scene.
Yeah, now they're in Seattle, and this pretty closely mirrors what happened in the actual game when Ellie and Dina first get there. Of course, it's gonna be condensed, and you're not gonna have as many places where in the game, obviously, you had a bunch of different environments. You were going around killing the WLF, but in this scene, in this episode, they've already discovered the Sarah fights, similar to how they discovered them in the game. People being strung up, the WLF being strung up, them coming in, them eventually escaping the WLF into the subway, and then the infected show up. They manage to escape. They get to the theater that they make sort of a hideout in Seattle, and then that's when we get to a very interesting scene, because for those of y'all who played the game, y'all already know eventually Ellie has to reveal to Dina that she's immune. Right. She can't get infected. So this happens in the game or in the movie, in the show, I should say. She gets bitten. She puts her arm in front of Dina to save her.
Right.
Because an infected is coming up behind her.
Mm-hmm.
And so they get to the theater, and then she's holding, and understandably so, Dina's afraid because Ellie, for whatever reason, doesn't immediately explain that, oh yeah, I'm infected, or that I'm immune to being infected. So she raises a gun at her, understandably so. And then you go ahead and take, you go ahead. I want to hear what you got to say. You take it from here.
So, like he just mentioned, she raises the gun at Ellie. Ellie tells her whatever you want to do, or not whatever you want to do. Tells her that, hey, I'm immune. I know you don't believe me. I'll sleep over here. You sleep over there, and keep your gun on me. If I wake up and I'm a runner now, shoot me. So it's and then next thing you know, she wakes up. Everything like Dina's still on edge. Next thing you know, she turns off the flashlight, tells Ellie that she's pregnant, and then that is a call sign for a makeout scene.
2025, man.
Like I'm just like, and that's not even the part that's really kind of bothers me. I'm like, bitch, didn't you just have like a whole gun trained on her?
I mean, I digress. It's like it's kind of weird because it did happen in the game, but it happened in a different way.
Yeah, the circumstances were different. They were locked in like a little storage room with a bunch of weed, and they just kind of
No, I'm talking about this was when they got to Seattle. It did happen it happened in the game twice, I think. Okay. Maybe right. I'm wilding. I haven't played the game in like 2.5 years, so I might be tripping. But one of those, like, when they're locked in the storage room, yeah, that did happen, obviously.
Yeah, okay. So I think that's the only one I recall. But it's just kind of just the circumstances were weird. Like, she's like, I'm pregnant.
And for some reason, that was a trigger.
And that was a trigger. And then Earth, Wind, and stuff. And if you get what I mean, metaphorically speaking, Earth, Wind, and Fire starts playing this for different reasons. But for all my 70s soul fans, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I mean... Skip that. It was strange for sure. And mind you, in the midst of all of this, Ellie hasn't shown any anger at all.
Right.
Like I said, I don't know if they're trying to fake us out in the sense that she's trying to suppress how she really feels and she's trying to bury it. And it's going to come out once we get to Nora and we get to see how she interacts with these people that are directly responsible. for Joel's death. But as of right now, it just feels like there's no skin in the game. Like I said, it almost feels like they're on vacation.
Like it's
just like a romantic getaway more so than it is a revenge story right now, which is very weird.
Like it's just exactly. It's just kind of out of nowhere. Like, why are you? Did y'all just escape the horde of infected from a subway and stuck in a subway?
But you gotta,
and you just seen a bunch of Seraphites string up. Like I
understand where you're coming from, but to be fair, that sounds crazy. But this is the world and the circumstances they've grown up in. So they're not really gonna be tripping over stuff like that.
Right, I get that, but I'm just like, why did they decide to place that there? I'm like, okay, cool, but just like with episode 2, I can say overall, this season is so up and down. It has its moments where I'm like, this is dope, and it has its moments where I'm like, what are y'all doing?
Yeah, I can agree. It's a very mixed season for me so far, especially being such a diehard fan of both the original, my favorite game of all time, and part 2 is in my top 15. Right. So it is kind of weird how they're going about it, but like I said, I'm trying to reserve it. This is more of a general impression than it is a full review. Obviously, the season still has a whole nother half to go. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's bad or throw the whole season away. I just got to wait to see what they do. I got to wait to see what the through line is.
I agree.
Especially in regards to Ellie and her overall demeanor. I got to see where they go with it.
See, with that being said, I have a very... Okay. The way she's acting now, kind of like everything's cool and copacetic and nothing seems to be bothering her. I feel like if they don't like make the change like flow or like make it too like, I don't want it to feel like the change her anger comes out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what I'm saying. That's the issue for me is if she just sees them and then she snaps into what she's supposed to be as far as how the game goes, it just is gonna feel too abrupt. It just feel weird.
I think there needs to be build up. Like everything is cool now, but when she sees Abby or sees Nora, she flashes back, exactly,
and that can affect her relationship with Dina. So maybe that's the point that they're going with. Maybe that's the route they're taking.
But so far, y'all gotta get it together. It's not bad. It's just not. It's just very out of left. A lot of this stuff is just kind of out of left field. Like from top to bottom, what's her name? Ellie is so driven by anger and rage and wants to. Now it's just like, oh, see Dina,
she chilling. Like
I don't get it. But that's my first impression. I'll stay tuned for episodes 5 through 8. But
yeah, I can say the exact same thing so far. Mixed season for me. Definitely not loving it as much top to bottom as I was the first season, but I'm gonna still give it credit where it's due in terms of like the overall production, the set designs, everything is better. I think the production value actually is better than it was in the first season.
Right, and what it does well, it does really well, but it's just some things tonally just aren't fitting.
And this is very ironic because this is what a lot of people said about the actual game itself. The production value was great, but they didn't really mess with the story and the narrative. Ironically, I'm a huge fan of the game, but with this season, the production value great, but some of the choices they're making is a little bit different.
Right, yeah. The story in the game, I love the story in the game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, hey, we're going to hold out and see what else they do with this season. I'm not going to write it off entirely yet, so that's pretty much what I have to say.
Yeah, same here, bro. Well, with that being said, I've been Jay.
This has been Rodney.
We're LATD. Remember, everybody, stay tuned. Episodes 5 through 8 coming soon.
Very soon at that.
Next month. But remember, everyone, look at the details. Peace.